Is where to eat at the top of your list when choosing a travel destination? You know, it's kind of high up there for me. It's definitely top of mind for our next guest. With fun foodie travel destinations is professional eater, Pay Chen. What a job. What a niche you have created for yourself.
I'm trying to get like a diploma or some sort of degree in that where they're like professional. Like I have my PhD.
Eater. I love
in
it.
eating.
Yeah. You love to travel, you love to eat, you put them all together, and you've had a lot of great adventures this way. Okay, so I want to talk about your recent trip to Taiwan. This is the first time going to Taiwan in 8 years, so you're going back in 8 years.
Yeah.
How was that whole experience for you? I loved following it on your Instagram. It looked gorgeous.
I think a lot of people did love following it, and I'm glad. I'm always very happy and grateful for the feedback. You know, I always say to people, because like my parents immigrated from Taiwan to Nova Scotia when I was a baby, so I grew up in Canada, and so I really didn't know a lot about my culture growing up. We were my brother and I, we were the only Asian kids in our school. We just did what everyone else did, you know? And like, sure, we had like food that my mom cooked, but if you were like, what is Taiwanese food? If you asked me that as a teenager, I'm like, I don't know. It's just like what my mom made. Wouldn't have known a lot of like maybe the history of it or the origins of some of the ingredients or the dishes. So going back to Taiwan is always, for me, it feels a bit like being a tourist as well. And it's like very family focused, so we have a lot of extended family there. And so for my mom, it was nice to go back because she was able to stay for a bit of a longer period. And there was a as you know, like I love cookbooks. And I learned a lot through cookbooks. Like I'm somebody who I've brought cookbooks on an airplane to like flip through them and read, because some of them have beautiful stories.
You love cookbooks.
I do love cookbooks, and sometimes it's the only time I have where I'm like, I can sit down for a couple of hours and I can actually read. So there's this cookbook I really fell in love with. I was excited when I heard it was coming out. It's called Made in Taiwan. And one of the co-authors, Pay Chen, no relation. I've been following her on Instagram. She's a recipe developer. I just thought she was I was learning things through her Instagram, and she does private cooking classes. So I thought, you know what, the next time I'm in Taiwan, I want to do a cooking class with Ivy. And so my mom and I went, we did a private cooking class. And for me, food is such a great way to really learn about a country or a city's culture, what's native to them. What do they eat? What are the ingredients? Where do they shop? You know, where do they like to go out and get their ingredients from? And Ivy was just, she was so knowledgeable, and it was really fun to be able to pick some dishes from the book and experiment with them and learn from her. Like, you know, I didn't know about the colonized history of Taiwan. I didn't know about the Japanese colonizing, you know, and there's a lot of that history that comes through the ingredients and the food. And even for my mom, like, I mean, sure, my mom spent her childhood there, but she didn't necessarily know, you know, oh, well, this ingredient was brought over from here. This is why, you know, certain people didn't eat a lot of wheat. They didn't eat breads because there was no wheat. Like, it was rice-based. So it was just really interesting. And it was a really fun way to, like, spend a few hours and learn from someone who's local and also get their hot tips. Right? So I even wrote a travel story for the Toronto Star featuring Ivy and her local picks. It's like, where does she love to go for her groceries? Where does she love to go for her tea? What's new and exciting to her? And I think those are things that can really help you understand the place that you're visiting.
Food is culture. So what a great way to travel, because you learn so much about a people, and I'm sure there's so many kids that came to Canada so young that resonate with your story, because you feel like you have a foot in two places.
And sometimes you feel a bit embarrassed, like, why don't I know enough about the country where my parents are from? And I think you do feel a little bit like an outsider sometimes when you go back to, let's say, your home country. And if you don't speak the language, if you're not familiar with the food, you know? But it's really nice to be able to kind of like learn that and absorb that too.
Totally. We need to normalize that, right? You went to this a baby onion farm?
Just full of babies.
Onion.
So Onion Baby Farm. So my cousin is amazing. In Taiwan, he planned a lot of these little day trips for us. And that was also a really great way for me to like learn about the culture. So here we are walking along with our hats and rubber boots. And it's green onions. So Yilan in Taiwan is well known for their scallions. And this was like a 1 hour activity, excellent for kids. There were a ton of kids there, great for families, very inexpensive. You go, you get to learn how to make a green onion pancake or a scallion pancake, which many people are familiar with. You go out into the farm, they tell you how to like harvest them, you wash them. If you want to, you can like take them home. But it was like bundles. It was like a baby in your arm of green onions.
Okay.
And it's just like a fun experience, a fun photo op, and a really nice, little thing to do, a nice little excursion.
And you're learning, and it's interactive. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, what would be your pick for folks that want to travel but have a more affordable traveling experience?
Well, we often hear about the shoulder season, so that's like off-peak times,
Yes.
And that's frequently like the fall and let's say the spring, and because I also understand that for a lot of people, their vacations are limited to a certain period of time, especially if it's like their kids have only March break or they only have summer. And those are peak periods, peak travel periods. If you have a little bit of flexibility or you're willing to pull them out of school for a week, you could always go somewhere just off the tourist season. Prince Edward Island is one of my favorite places. And I was thinking about it right before doing this segment. I don't think I've ever been there during their summer peak season. I've always gone just at the end of the tourist season. They have a really great food festival called Fall Flavors in the fall. So it typically happens at, end of September, early October. And I went this past fall, and it was really great. I got to experience this Mega Pagi experience, which is on Lennox Island First Nations, where we had like beautiful food. We got to interact and meet with the community. There was traditional crafts there as well, and smudging ceremony. Got to meet Captain Jimmy Bernard, who's a Mi'kmaq artist and a basket weaver, and just really got to see a bit of the culture that is very local and that we are losing a lot of. And for them, it was really much about keeping that culture alive and letting people know about the traditions that are on Lennox Island. And it was really a beautiful experience. It was a ticketed event, not something I would have been able to organize on my own. Right? So these food festivals are a really great way to immerse yourself in the culture of the place you're visiting.
That's so cool. I like that. And it's all sort of done for you. You just go in and you learn and you do.
Yes, and I'll say another place that I really loved on Prince Edward Island, and a lot of people do travel for nationally, is the Fireworks Feast. So this is in at Bay Fortune, which is a celebrity chef, Michael Smith, and his partner have built this beautiful inn, and they have this great organic farm, herb garden, and everything is served family style, cooked over wood, and it was just a really fun sort of beautiful meal to have, and really wonderful experience to have on the island.
Very farm to table, right?
Yes.
We need to talk about this.
You've actually resisted this entire segment. So here's popcorn, very famous in Chicago, and I know that you love Chicago as well. Right?
I do, and not just for the popcorn.
Not just for the popcorn.
Architecture, everything. I love Chicago.
So Chicago is a city that I haven't visited a lot, but I want to more often because for me in Toronto, it's actually quite close to get there. So at the end of the summer last year, I went down for Pizza City Festival. Because you think pizza, Chicago, you're like deep dish, but there's so much more, right?
Okay.
So it was a fun experience to go down, and it's also something like a day experience is a really nice way to sample a lot of vendors, a lot of restaurants in one place. And I'll say that another event that I'm looking forward to is the hit show The Bear. There is a Yes Chef The Bear food tour. Of course, right? Because it was inspired by a place called Mr. Beef, and it's a great way to go around and just see all the places that were made famous in the show and in the series, and get to sample some of the food that you may have seen on the show.
Well, I will say it again. I've said it before. I love the way you eat. Pay, thank you so much. I can watch you eat. I want to watch what you're eating. Named the best cookbook of 2023 by the New York Times, Made in Taiwan is an in-depth exploration of the vibrant food and culture of Taiwan, as Pay mentioned, including never-before-seen exclusive recipes and gorgeous photography. And I'm telling you this because you're all going to get a copy in our audience. So take that and enjoy.